Hey there, MJ traders and investors. It's Rod with Pow Group. Welcome back on the Pursuit of Wealth, your home for MJ stocks, crypto assets, news, and interviews. Today is Wednesday, April 30th, last day of the month. Hope you're doing well. In this video, we're going to take a look at Cannara Biotech. We'll bring up the chart. I'll give my thoughts and opinions, and we'll also go over their Q2 2025 earnings, another record quarter for the company. And they're finally starting to go mainstream. We're starting to see most of the MJ space wake up to this opportunity. I've been covering them for multiple years now at this point, and I've interviewed Nick Sosiak, the CFO, multiple times, and very bullish on this company. It's been amazing just watching their story, and like I said, just been boots on the ground, following them for about 3 years straight. And the stock has been one of the shining lights in the space lately. It's been on an absolute tear, and yeah, it's well deserved. And the team over there at Cannara, you're doing a fantastic job, and really having the consumer at heart has really paid off. So before we get to it, make sure to smash the like, help support me in the channel. If you're new, you can subscribe, tick the bell, all that good stuff. You'll be notified on any future videos or when I go live. And you can follow us over on X, formerly Twitter. Handle for that is @GroupPow. Going to be using that as my platform of choice going forward. And full disclosure, I do own Cannara Biotech if you haven't put two and two together. This is not financial advice. This is for entertainment purposes only. So if you go to my YouTube channel, just search Cannara Biotech. I've got tons of videos here. This was 3 years ago. I interviewed Nicholas Sosiak, the CFO, and then I just reviewed some of their recent earnings. But if you go all the way back, you can see I said, don't fall asleep on Cannara. That was about a year ago, and big move coming. The stock has been on an absolute tear recently. And then if you go all the way down, this is a blast from the past for sure. Feels like just yesterday, but 3 years ago. It should be over 3 years ago now. I did some product reviews of their tribal Cuban links, gelato mint, and orchid CBD, the Runts brand. So if you haven't seen those, again, you can just go search any of the companies that I cover as well. You can do so. Just go and search, and you can see all of my coverage over the last few years. It's pretty amazing to see what's happened in a short period of time. I know it's been brutal in the MJ space over the last few years, but you have to remember that we're just 6 years, going on 7 years legal here in Canada, and any industry that that starts from scratch, right? If it's an emerging disruptive industry, it's going to take at least 10 years to really start to go mainstream. And with an industry like with MJ, right, it's been hundreds of years of lies, right? It's been decades and decades and decades of propaganda and, like I said, outright lies. So you have to undo all that damage. The biggest economy in the world, the US, is still illegal at the federal level. So there's a lot of growth ahead, right? And I think it was Seth Rogen that said, I like to smoke MJ pretty much everywhere except for Singapore. They'll effing kill you over there. So it just goes to show you, it feels like we've been legal for forever here in Canada, being Canadian and all. But we're really just starting to scratch the surface. So Cannara Biotech delivers another record Q2 delivers record Q2 results as national expansion accelerates. If we go through, I'm not going to read this whole thing. You've probably already read it by now if you're following the company, but they did have net revenues of 26.6 million in Q2 2025. They don't really have any analyst coverage. They're not being covered by most of the traditional analysts, just based on the fact that they're still up and coming at this point. But in terms of their revenue, you can see their gross revenue is just north of 36 million. And again, just like most LPs, licensed producers in Canada, that are about a third of their revenue is going towards excise tax. So you can see excise tax was a little north of 11 million for net revenues of 26.6 rounded. So again, just imagine, they're contributing a lot to the Canadian economy as well. And recently, Nick Sosiak commented on a couple different interviews that they're not focusing on the international market. They're still expanding in Canada. So there's still a lot of room to grow here, just in their own backyard and their own winning at home, so to speak, right in Canada, expanding to the rest of Canada. And I think they had a just under 4% market share. But we'll go through their revenue has been solidly increasing. You can see here, a couple million, 6 million, 10 million, 13 million, 24 million, and then here we are up at 26.6 million. And their revenue, not only is the revenue growing, we're also seeing their profitability, record profitability. They had gross profit. It rose 52% to 10.8 million in Q2 2025 from 7.1 million the quarter a year prior. and gross margins improved to 41%. So essentially, this company is like they're a cultivation company. They're focused highly on genetics, and they have some of the best, if not the best, flower in the industry. And a lot of the other names that, like Ogen is one that comes to mind here in Alberta. It actually it went insolvent. So a lot of these companies that are growing, quad A or very high quality MJ, they're not able to do it at scale, or they're not able to do it where they can make ends meet. Right? It's very difficult to do that at scale. And if you've ever grown MJ in your house or in your own backyard, I've done it multiple times, and I got pretty decent at it. But it's definitely a lot of work, and I can't imagine doing it in a million square feet basis, right? And they've still got so much to do in terms of their to grow in terms of their grow rooms, and so much in terms of regulatory improvements here in Canada. They're talking about going from about 13 different stamps to one national stamp, and then potentially improvements to excise taxes. There was a video that I posted, I think it was yesterday, excise tax immediate action, the MJ Council of Canada congratulating Mark Carney on his win, but also urging immediate action to support the industry. So imagine if there was some sort of reform with regards to excise tax, that'd be a huge improvement to their overall bottom line, right? But yeah, it's looking fantastic. I'm not going to go through everything. I highly encourage you to do so, though, if you haven't already, dived into Cannara. There's a lot under the hood here that I'm sure you would find interesting, and the company, kind of taking that incremental crawl, walk, run approach, not trying to be everything to everybody. And again, going back to what I said about Nick Sosiak, he said that their phone is ringing off the hook with regards to international opportunities, but they're focusing on Canada primarily. And I think that's smart if they're especially if you're still expanding across Canada, right? You want to get that under your belt first, and then focus on international. And yeah, you never know what's going to happen with international, right? There could be tariffs, and yeah, there's a whole lot of unknowns. But got to win at home first. I think that's a very very important aspect of it as well. So just cruising through here a little bit quicker. I want to go down here. Yeah, national market share 3.9%, so just under 4%. And I think that's, oh yeah, the positive EPS. So they came in at earnings per share was positive 0.04 compared to negative 0.04, which was a year prior. So positive there. And cash, you can see here, was just north of 5 million. And free cash flow for the quarter end, negative 4 million. But overall, their assets, so their balance sheet is pretty decent here as well. If we scroll down, working capital north of 43 million. Total current assets 75, little north of 75 million. Total current liabilities just over 32 million. So once again, congrats to the Cannara team. And we'll move right along. We'll take a look at the chart here. So I posted this on my last video. We had a monthly uptrend confirm and a first ever monthly EMA 12 and 26 bull cross. And since then, we were looking at a potential weekly bull flag on this weekly higher low. We did come down and lose the 0.32 fib, but if we ignore that lower wick there, in my opinion, that was a bear flag, or sorry, a bear trap in a bull flag. So I literally just did a video on this, I think yesterday, and I can't remember if it was public or if I made it for the Power private community, but nonetheless, I said, in a scenario like this, I love these setups because you have a big bull move, right? We ran up about 120%, and then we pulled back about 24%. So if you miss this big move here, and we had a weekly EMA 12 and 26 bull cross coming off weekly oversold. So if you started to enter here when it was weekly oversold, that'd be generally a good idea to enter. Again, not telling you to buy, sell, or hold or what to do, but if you know nothing about technical analysis and you just put RSI in there and you buy when we're closer to 30 or below on the RSI, which is oversold, and do not buy and potentially sell when we're 30 and above, 70 and above, you'll do better than like 99% of people out there, right? But people want to buy things when when it's going up because they feel good about it, and they don't want to buy things when they're going down because they think it's going to keep going down forever and it's a falling knife essentially, right? But if you know what's under the hood, like I said, I've been following this company now for over 3 years, and the financials are starting to come around now. But there's a reason why some names like Warren Buffett missed Apple and Amazon and Bitcoin and all of these things is because the numbers don't lie, yes, but sometimes you don't, when you're in such a high growth industry, it's you can't just look at the numbers, right? You have to understand where we are, where we're going, what's the growth curve, and just not domestically, but internationally as well. So it's domestic is huge, but international even bigger, this market. And what happens when Cannara expands to the U.S.? What happens when they expand to Europe? Right? There's so many markets and so much opportunity. It's not even funny. But as I said, if you miss that move, and there was multiple indicators saying you were weekly oversold. You had the weekly EMA 12 and 26 bull cross. We confirmed a weekly uptrend. But if you miss this huge move here, even off of the weekly oversold bounce and lows, there was another move here, and you could have entered on this weekly consolidation, right? Because anything above that 0.32 fib was a potential weekly bull flag. And as of right now, we're very close to confirming it after a bear trap, like I said. So what I mentioned in the previous example of this was when you have these big bull moves, you start to feel FOMO, fear of missing out, right? So if you use this fib tool, you can say, okay, we're down 24%. I have a clear level to go off of here, 114. And maybe I even put my stop. I mentioned this in my previous example when I was explaining this, that I like to put it under the 0.5% retracement because they like to go stop loss hunting and bear trap people. And that's exactly what happened here, where we dip below it, we hit 106. So what I would have done is I would have put it below the 0.105, and I probably would have allowed a little bit of wiggle room. So I probably would have put it at 99 cents. But essentially you could have entered here at, $1.10, and again at, $1.06. So get your cost basis down to around, $1.08, and then set your stop under $1. So even if it was $1.10 and you set it just under $1 at 99 cents, you're risking about 10%, and you'd made, just off that move, you would have made 27%, and we could see a move up to 257 on this weekly bull flag. So if you just take a look at what that would mean in terms of the measured move, that's about 130% of upside from here, right? So you have a clear level to go off of. Personally, I'm not using a stop loss or anything like that. I'm just buying and holding. I've been buying it for a while now, and yeah, it dropped as low as 52 cents Canadian. I've been buying it for a while, and I mentioned in my previous video that we had the first ever EMA 12 and 26 bull cross lining up, and we already had that. And then we saw tons of upside continuation. And like I said, one of the only names right now, kind of a shining star in the space. We have our low, high of the bounce, higher low, and higher high. So monthly uptrend confirmed. Now we're forming another monthly higher low, and we held those EMA support on that monthly higher low. And again, if you miss this higher low and this huge move, wait for another monthly higher low. And we got one this month, right? So last month you could have said, okay, it's a monthly inside bar. If we lose the low of last month, this month in April, then monthly consolidation underway. That's exactly what happened. And you could have looked toward the EMAs for entries, and then $1 psychological, right? Made a lot of sense. So playing off that key support. If we look at the weekly time frame here, we've kind of got a bit of a mixed bag here. The MACD just crossed bearish, but it could flip bullish really any week now. And we just had a stochastic bull cross, and we're back above the 10-week moving average. So this is looking pretty good. The whole sector starting to wake up again today as well. Like I said, with the video that I posted with excise tax immediate action. And then today we had the DA pick Terry Cole saying that MJ is one of his first priorities. So rescheduling, said it's been stalled for far too long, essentially. So the writing's on the wall. We could see safer banking as well. So we're starting to see the sector heat up. And on the weekly time frame, we could see a 50 and a 100 weekly moving average bull cross, and then the first ever 50 and 200 weekly moving average bull cross. If that were to happen, there's no telling how high this thing could go. It could easily be at $4 or $5 in a hurry, Canadian. On the daily time frame, we also just had a golden cross, which was back in January of this year. So that gave us a pretty massive heads up here that the price was at 75 cents when that occurred. So if you entered there on that golden cross, we hit on that move, we had almost $1.50, right? So yeah, $1.46, and essentially it's been a double top right now, 146, 145. So if you just entered on the golden cross with the 50-day moving average down below the 200 when they cross, that's called a golden cross. Back here it was a death cross, tons of downside, golden cross, bull cross, tons of upside. So 75 cents all the way up to 150, you're looking at a 100% move there in a very short period of time just after that one flashing indicator. And that's a very bullish indicator as well. So like I said, I'm very bullish on the company long term. We'll see. They might even be a bio target or something eventually. I heard somebody say in the comments, "Oh, come on, Tilray, just buy them already." I can't see that's. We'll see. Anything's possible. Never say never. Can't see that happening, but I wouldn't be surprised because, like I said, they're definitely not going to be able to scoop them up for nothing. This is a company that has been growing, and they have great brands. They've essentially got their three main brands, and they're very, very well known, and they bode well with the community, right? Like they've been very well received. So kudos to them. Like I said, keep up the great work going in it there. Let me know what you think of this in the comment section below. Are you bullish on them long term? Do you own them in your portfolio? It's Rod with Pow Group. Thanks again for joining us on the Pursuit of Wealth, and we'll catch you again on the next video.